wins for France over in the World Cup qualifiers, as Scotland also picked up a solid draw against the Danes. But we'll come at you this coming match day. We're going to get to that and much more next. That's right, folks, back once again with another video today. We take a look at the next round of games over in the World Cup qualifiers in Europe, with the French looking to build upon their big win over the Ukraine last time around. As for the Scots, they've got to do it all again this time around. Can they get some results? Maybe a win to boost their chances to qualify for the World Cup. We'll get into all of that and much more in a second. If you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe. You want stuff for World Cup, Blabbing Rovers, World Cup qualifiers right here in the old UEFA. That's right. We're going to get into all of it in a minute. Big shout out to the members of the patrons. You know who you are, but we're going to first and foremost take a deep dive until the last round of games to see where we all are, of course, and a quick look at the table. So sit tight, hold on, let's get into it. Let's take a look at the results then, shall we? Of course, kick it all off with Slovenia against Sweden. That ended up as a 2-2 scoreline with a 2-1 home win. Oh, now I've got that one wrong. Meanwhile, Switzerland did beat Kosovo 4-0. I went with a 3-1 win. Greece also put 5 past Belarus in a 5-1 win. I went with a 2-0 win. The Danes could only draw with the Scots. Good result for them on the road. Iceland with a 5-0 win over Azerbaijan. I went with a 2-0 win. Ukraine lost at home to France, 2-0 win there. Moldova also got beat by Israel, 4-0. I just went with the 1-0 on that one. Italy left it late. 5-0 winners over Estonia. I went with a 3-0 win. The Faroes also lost to Croatia 1-0. I went with a 3-0 win. And Montenegro and Czechia ended up with a 2-0 win for Czechia. I went with a draw on that. So currently the tables look like this. As you see, it is Northern Ireland top the pops in Group A with Slovakia in second spot. Group B sees Switzerland and Sweden in the top 2 spots, with Greece, Denmark over in Group C. But it's early days there. Over in Group D, Iceland are in charge ahead of France. Group E sees Spain and Turkey duking it out. Armenia and Hungary, Poland, Ireland yet to get going in Group F. So, of course, I'm recording this ahead of the first round of games in those respective groups. So, we'll bring you back up to date tomorrow when that game's come to a close. Meanwhile, moving forward, Group G sees Netherlands in charge ahead of Poland in the groups that are well and truly on their way. Bosnia-Herzegovina also in charge in Group H. Austria playing catch-up on that one. Group I sees Norway looking good and could be back for the World Cup for the first time in a long, long time. Group J sees Wales in great position, with, of course, Belgium got a bit of catch-up work on that one. Group K sees England, Albania. Again, we'll get closer to that one tomorrow. And Czechia in charge over Croatia in a difficult Group L. That's right. Alrighty then, folks, let's get into the next round of games then, shall we? Kick it on forward with a trip to Kosovo. That's right, they're taking on La Suède, Sweden to you and I. That's coming at you on the 8th of the 9th over in Group B. Kosovo under Franco Voda are just one defeat in the last 6. They sit 4th right now in Group B up against the Suède. John Dahl Thomason's boys right there, just one defeat in the last 6. They played 3 times, so 2020, 3 wins to Sweden, for Kosovo, no draws between the two sides. They last played in Kosovo, 3-0 winners it was, way back in March 2021. Kosovo are on the back of that 4-0 loss to Switzerland. Sweden did a draw, 2-2 thriller against Slovenia most recently. Tight one this one, gonna go with a win for the Swede, 2-1 winners to give themselves a big old boost in their race for World Cup qualification. Meanwhile, Switzerland taking on Slovenia, ding-dong classic as well on the 8th of the 9th over in Group B. Switzerland and Murat Yakin, they top of the pops right now, 3 points for them. 4 wins on the bounce up against Slovenia and a Matches Ketch, unbeaten in at least the last 6 matches. And then they played Switzerland 6 times since 2003. 5 wins for the Swiss, 1 win for Slovenia, and there's been no draws between the two sides. They last played in Switzerland, 3-2 winners it was, way back in September 2015. Goodness gracious me. Switzerland beating Kosovo 4-0 winners last time around. Slovenia with that 2-2 draw against Sweden in what looks to be a very difficult group to qualify for the World Cup. Bookies on this one, they'll go with Switzerland. Of course they are. They're a very good team. I've gone with them as well, 2-0 winners, and we'll see if that's true. Meanwhile, we're going to go to Belarus as they take on Scotland. That's right, over on the 8th of the 9th. This is over in Group C. Belarus under Carlos Alios. Back-to-back defeats for them right now. Coming into this over in Group C up against the Scots under Stevie Clark. Back-to-back games without a loss. They played twice in 2005. 1 win for Belarus, nothing for Scotland. There's been 1 draw between these two sides. They last played in Scotland. It was a 1-0 win for Belarus way back in October 2005. So it's a long time ago, over 20 years, or just about 20 years anyway. So Scotland well overdue and hoping to change that situation there. Coming into the back-to-back clean sheets for Scotland, including a draw away to Denmark, up against Belarus, who did lose 5-1 to Greece most recently. Of course, the bookies will back the Scots. They need to win this game. Gone with just a 1-0 win. It's going to be a little difficult one, but they'll get there in the end. Meanwhile, the Greeks taking on Danes, of course. Now, it's actually turning into be a tricky group when you look at it. Greece, of course, ain't no slouches these days up against the Danes, who will compete. This is coming out of the Karanakis Stadium. Greece under Ivan Jovic there, 4 wins on the bounce for them, top of the pops with 3 points for them. Up against the Danes under Brian and Brima, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They sit second with the 1 point, and have played Greece 5 times since 1983. 1 win for Greece, 3 wins for the Danes. There's been 1 draw between these two sides. They last played in Greece. It was a 1-1 scoreline way back in February 2009. The Greeks are on the back of that 5-1 win over Belarus. They've scored, 13 goals between themselves, actually, in the last 3 matches. Up against the Danes, who have gone back-to-back clean sheets for them, but it did come into on the back of the draw against the Scots. Tight one, this one. The bookies give it to Greece. They do indeed. I've gone with a 2-1 win as well. Opens up the floodgates, and who knows who qualifies from this group in, of course, a spicy World Cup qualifiers there. Meanwhile, Israel, they're taking on Italy in the Battle of the Eyes. That's right. It's coming at you over at the Nayandi Stadium. Israel under Ran Ben Shimon. 5 wins the last 6. Pretty good form for them. They are second in Group I up against Italy under Gennaro Gattuso, who's won back-to-back games now. They played 5 times since 1970. Nothing for Israel. 4 wins for Italy. There's been 1 draw between the two sides. They last played in Israel, 2-1 winners it was for Italy back in September 2024, around about a year ago today. Israel on the back of that 4-0 win over Moldova. Italy on the back of that 5-0 win over Estonia. Back-to-back clean sheets for both these two nations, at least. Yeah, back-to-back clean sheets. Bookies give Italy the 3 points here. Israel, no, they ain't no slouches. I've gone with a 2-0 win for Italy, but really it could be a tight old affair on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if Israel could nick a point on this one. Meanwhile, Gibraltar in a tough old game against the Faroes, also on the 8th of the 9th. Coming to the Europa Sports Park, Gibraltar under Scott Wiseman. No points for them right now in Group L. 5 defeats on the spin up against the Faroes, have won once in the last 6. They played each other 3 times since 2014. Nothing for Gibraltar, 2 wins for the Faroes. There's been 1 draw between these two sides. They last played in Gibraltar, 0-0 it was way back in March 2022. Gibraltar are on the back of that 1-0 loss to Albania, just a 1-0 loss. Up against the Faroes, also on the back of a 1-0 loss to Croatia. Goodness gracious me. They give it to the Faroes, the bookies on this one. I've gone with a 1-1 draw, a point in the bag. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And then finally, we wrap it all up. Goodness gracious me, it is Croatia taking on Montenegro. Coming at you on the 8th of the 9th over in the Maskimir. That's right, Croatia under Zlato Dalic, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They sit second with 9 points for them. Up against Montenegro under Robert Prozanecki. Croatians up against Croatian, of course. 3 matches without a win, though, for Montenegro. They played no times, these two sides. Coming at you over in Group L. Montenegro on the back of that 2-0 loss to Croatia. Czechia, should I say. Croatia on the back of that 1-0 win over the Faroes. To make it, 3 wins on the spin for Croatia. Looking pretty good right now. Bookies will give it to Croatia. Of course they will. They are red-hot favourites right now. Going to go with a 3-1 win for Zlatan Dalic's boys to put themselves in a good spot heading into the next round of games at the World Cup qualifiers. That, my friends, is what I've got for you. Make sure you subscribe, smash the like wherever you are. Of course, we'll bring you bang up to date when we return in October for the next round of games in Europe. But until then, we're done.